Okay guys, really quick before we hop into this video, my face cam stopped working altogether during this whole video, so there's no face cam for this whole video, so yeah, probably kind of boring, just kind of stating my points here. Hope you guys enjoy anyways. Yeah, so we're talking about Ruan Mei versus Bronya in MrPokee and Gacha Smack's video, so yeah, hope you enjoy. What's up gamers, and today we're going to be talking about Ruan Mei versus Bronya, but before I get into my opinions on that, or my full opinions on that, I do want to go over the debate between the Gacha Smack and MrPokee on this, coming from a perspective that I don't zero cycle stuff. I'm not a sweaty warlord gamer, and just kind of looking at it from an outsider's perspective, it might not mean anything, but I just want to put my opinions out there on both sides of this, where I think points could be made better, where evidence could be shown more, and stuff like that for both sides of the argument. So we're going to go through realistically just MrPokee's video responding to Gacha Smack. I don't want to include Gacha Smack's video. I feel like it's too jumbled with like timestamps and stuff when he's reacting to the video in this video. So we'll just put timestamps. I'll put a timestamp up of what like section we're talking about, and I'll try to state whether I'm talking about Gacha Smack's take or either MrPokee's take on it. So let's go ahead and hop into it now, guys. Starting off near the beginning of the video, I wrote a full notepad here. I actually watched this last night and wrote a couple pages of notes here on stuff I wanted to talk about and point out. It shouldn't take too long until I get into my actual opinions on both the characters, because I think I sit in the middle of these two, whereas MrPokee thinks that Ruan Mei is way overhyped, and she's only going to be good for dual dot comps. I guess he also said that she will be good for hypercarry as well. Well, I do agree with that. I do think she's a bit better than that, but there's a couple things I disagree with on his side, as well as a couple things I disagree with on Gacha Smack's side as well. So let's just go ahead and hop into it instead of me rambling on. First things first, I want to start off at around this point in the video. It is around 3:53 in the video. So this point right here is like basically Gacha Smack talking about MrPokee thinking Ruan Mei is niche. So let's just go ahead and start around this point right here.
Not the only enabler, she still works in a hypercarry setup. Just that between Bronya and Ruan mei, like for example, if I only had to choose one, right, I would pick Bronya over Ruan mei any day of the week in hypercarry.
I agree. I think that Bronya is irreplaceable in hypercarry comps. I think that Ruan Mei will be used in all the hypercarry comps, or at least the sweaty ones at that. I think that is going to be a staple now for those comps. I think that Bronya is an absolute staple on these comps as well, because she allows something very unique, which is advancing forward your action by one turn, which no other character does. Now, once we get a character that can advance forward action and do a little bit more than Bronya, then sure, she'll be power crept. I don't think that Ruan Mei power creeps her in this aspect at all. I think that for hypercarry comps, that Ruan Mei is still going to be, Bronya is still the de facto, like, top of the support chain, top S tier, triple S tier, whatever you want to call it, character in those comps. I do have another point I want to make near the end of this video, because I do think that hypercarry is kind of getting phased out for dual DPS comps, but we'll get into that at later points in the video where I can explain myself a bit more. But yes, realistically, I think that any day of the week I would also pick Bronya over Ruan Mei in hyper comp situations, just because of the versatility that she has and the uniqueness she has with her advanced forward action. Alright, now we're going to be hopping around to 450-ish. This is basically talking about, does Ruan Mei replace Bronya, or running Ruan Mei with Bronya? And it kind of goes back to the point before, right? I think that Bronya is still the de facto of like the hypercarry comps, and I don't think Ruan Mei is replacing her. I kind of agree with, like I said, I agree with MrPokee's here.
Which is literally stronger than any other character in the game on that dual DPS, or not on that hyper buff composition.
But she does not replace Bronya. All I'm saying, she can be ran with Bronya. She does not replace Bronya.
I agree with that. I agree. She can be rolling with Bronya. She does not replace Bronya. Bronya has too much uniqueness in her kit as far as advancing for the action. That's really the only thing that Bronya really has, is advancing for the action, giving that extra turn. Without that extra action value advance forward, then I think that Ruan Mei would be like the de facto probably best support character for them, but it's just not the case. Once we get another character in the game, like I said before, that advances forward action, I think that's when Bronya will be replaced. I think that Ruan Mei is more of like a side load to Bronya, because Bronya obviously is still super good for those hypercarry comps. I do think Ruan Mei, though, is more versatile. We'll talk more about versatility later on, because MrPokee talks about versatility, and there's something I disagree with there, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Now, the next point we're talking about kind of spans from like the 9-10 area of the video all the way like to 13:30 or something like that. I'm just kind of gonna bring everything together, and this is the main point I want to bring up here around 11:40. We'll go ahead and play that now.
The reason, okay, the meaning of competitive in Honkai Star Rail, okay, at the end of the day, competitive is a very subjective word. If in your opinion, a team comp can clear Memory of Chaos if with 3 stars, is good enough, it's competitive, then that is your opinion. In my opinion, competitive means you can achieve a really fast clear cycle with.
I agree, and I think the meaning of competitiveness here, we're talking with Sweatlords here, so we're obviously talking about zero cycle here. I think this just kind of bypasses a lot of the argument to be made here, just for the fact that I think the tone that they're talking, or I guess the area that they're talking about, the competitiveness area, they're both talking about zero cycling or extremely low cycles, right? We're not talking about just clearing MOC. We're talking about zero cycling MOC. So I feel like this, like, the point of like competitiveness in Honkai Star Rail, the competitiveness is getting that zero cycle, which can be done with dual DPS comps, other dual DPS comps. I wrote up a couple on this list here. There's a couple more points I want to bring up though before we actually get to those points there though.
Yuan, Topaz, support, and a sustain. I don't think I can zero cycle with that.
There is something I want to bring up here because he does talk about Jingyuan Topaz. And not seeing like Jingyuan Topaz. I think there's a lot of claims made here, right? And the basic premise of what the claims here, I won't play the video all out. He says he hasn't seen like a, MrPokee says he hasn't seen like a zero cycle clear for Jingyuan Topaz. He says he hasn't seen a zero cycle clear for Topaz and Kafka either. He does bring up Topaz Himiko near the later half of this section on that 11-minute mark we were talking about before. But there are plenty of dual DPS comps that aren't like dot comps that are clearing MOC at zero cycle, and it's just as easy as searching it up on YouTube or even testing it out for yourself. I feel like there's a lot of accusations made on both sides here. MrPokee and Gacha Smack both go like, I think this could happen, I think this could happen, or I don't think this could happen, I don't think this could happen. But they haven't actually tested it, nor have they, I guess, done the research into looking at it. And I think coming from both, I'm not a theory crafter, by the way, at all. So don't take my opinion with a grain of salt, right? But they haven't actually went through and tested these comps, so I feel like it's hard to give an accurate opinion or an assessment on something saying that it cannot be done if you haven't actually went and tested it for yourself, right? I feel like stuff needs to be tested before these public opinions are put out about it, or something like that, right? I just feel like they need to be tested first before we go off and tell, because this kind of like pushes a point later on I want to make, especially in the section when he talks about theory crafting versus reality. He does mention something there that kind of like counters this point that he made right here. So I just want to bring that up. We'll talk about that in a little bit though. Like, even if you like to search up like Topaz Zero Cycle, for example, we already have one example from 12 days ago where they're using a Clara and a Topaz on the same team, which is another dual DPS comp, which is zero cycling MOC 10. Like, there have been examples of these characters zero cycling MOC, right? I think it really just depends on the buff for MOC, right? But like, for example, we have one from a month ago of Kafka and Topaz doing a zero cycle there. I'm sure Topaz Kafka could also zero cycle now. We also have seen examples of Topaz and Jingyuan doing a zero cycle as well. Like, for example, we have this video right here where they're using Jingyuan, Asta, Topaz, and Tingyun. MOC 10 right here. They zero cycled it right here. Like, it's just as easy as like a Google search or a YouTube search, really, right? It's not that hard to like find this information out. So, I mean, these have been proven to already zero cycle MOC. We also have another example right here of a zero cycle for MOC, which is Jingyuan and Topaz. And this is the one, or the MOC, that doesn't give you really any leeway because it is just a follow-up attack after your turn. So, it's just straight damage. There's no, like, buffs involved here. And as you can see, it's running Bronya, Jingyuan, Topaz, and also Miss Tingyun here as well. So we're still running double DPS comps and still completing this. So double DPS is definitely viable, and I think that Ruan mei and these comps would definitely enhance the comp here. Like, I really do.
Me wrong, right? Prove me wrong. I personally don't think that Jingyuan and Topaz, both with S1, right? E0 S1,
Well, they've already cleared, so I mean, prove them wrong. I mean, you can just do a Google search and prove it wrong. Anyways, that's kind of the point I want to make here, is that these comps have been done, and dual DPS is definitely has worked right now. Now, I'm not saying it's prevalent right now, or as prevalent as a hypercarry comp, because we see a lot of hypercarry comps. Most comps running MOC are hypercarry comps. That's not to say that low eidolon, low investment team comps of double DPS are not viable, because doing a quick search on YouTube shows that they are. Same thing with Jingliu and Blade as well. Let's listen to this point really quick.
What about Jingliu Blade? Guys, I've never seen a Jingliu Blade do a 0 cycle in my entire life. Not even 1 cycle, actually. If you could run, okay, assuming...
So he says that he has never seen a Jingliu and Blade do a 0 cycle. Let's go ahead and do a quick search here to see what we can find to kind of prove my point further on this, where we should be doing more research before making these claims, or even testing these teams out. Even if you can't test it, you can maybe have someone in your community test it and send you a video for it. You can maybe just go on YouTube and search it up, right? Alright, so we went ahead and searched up Jingliu Blade 0 cycle. Let's go ahead and put it for this past month here. And let's see what we have here. So we have, oh yeah, we have one right here where it's Blade, Pela, Bronya, and Jingliu for this first one, which was 3 weeks ago. We have one from 11 days ago, which is the same exact team. We have one from 3 weeks ago, which was using Pela instead of, using Silverwolf instead of Pela there. So there are multiple examples here of these teams clearing this. One from a month ago, which is an older MOC, but it was basically using Jingliu, Pela, Ting Yun, and Blade doing a 0 cycle. So this is like low investment as well. These are all like low investments. E0, S0 Blade, E0, S0 Jingliu from 11 days ago. So I mean, like, it has been done, right?
Even that our support is the same. Alright, let's assume that everybody's using Hui Hui, right? If we're gonna be using Huo Huo, Jingliu, Bronya, Blade, Huo Huo, or Jingliu, Bronya, Ting Yun, Huo Huo. Between these two comps, the comp with Ting Yun is gonna clear infinitely faster than the comp with Blade.
I see. I don't agree.
Be a thing. Yes, it is viable. It is not competitive.
Okay, see, that's where I disagree, right? Sorry, I paused a lot there. I was trying to get a perfect pause, frame perfect. Anyways, as you can see, it is viable, right? This is an E0 S0 run. Jingliu has E0 S0, Blade has E0 S0. It's a 0 cycle MOC 10 from 11 days ago, so this is very, very recent that this even happened. On the MOC version it's on, obviously you're not getting really any buffs at all. They are using Pela in this, so Ting Yun's not a requirement here. It's not infinitely faster to clear the stages with Ting Yun there, because you're still 0 cycling without her. I don't know, like the fastest you can get is 0 cycle, right? And that's what Gacha Smack says in his video. As long as you're getting a 0 cycle, you're getting a 0 cycle. There's no timer or no, like, how many characters does it take in one cycle to complete this? It's completing it in under a cycle, and as long as you're able to do that, I think it's competitive by, I guess, meta standards anyways. So, I mean, I think all it takes is a quick Google search here, or a quick YouTube search. That's all I'm saying, is do a little bit more research with the points we're trying to make here. It also kind of proves the point that dual DPS is already a thing, and I think Ruan mei will make it better. Now let's go ahead and jump to 1638, where they're talking about theory crafting versus reality, or MrPokee is talking about theory crafting versus reality, because there is a point he makes here that kind of counters a previous point we talked about earlier, as far as like stating things that haven't actually been tested, or things that we haven't actually done in game yet.
The reason why I have a lack of confidence is because theory crafting is still theory crafting. We can theory craft all day, all night, but theory crafting is still theory crafting. We have not physically tested out how team comps are going to perform in MOC 12 and pure fiction yet. So I don't want to give my viewers a false expectation that dual DPS is going to be absolutely cracked out of their goddamn minds before we actually see actual results.
And this is the point I want to touch on right here, right? He says that he doesn't want to show actual, or he doesn't want to give an actual opinion on it because MSC 12's not out yet, which I fully agree with. I don't think that we should be giving, like, I guess, like, for sure, 100% this is going to be a thing opinions before they actually come out. I think you should give an educated guess on it because, you know, you do have experience playing the game, and I feel like playing the game for so long, you do have experience, and you should give an educated guess to whether that might be a thing or not, how strong something might be. But this does counter a point that MrPokee says earlier in the video. Anyway, sorry, I got a phone call. I forgot where I was at. Anyway, what I think I was saying there was that I don't think we should be making false accusations on saying, yo, this team can't work, this team can't work, and this team can't work, even if we haven't tested it. Because with this logic right here, you should be testing these teams before giving opinions to your community to, like, completely rule something out, right? So that's just the main point I wanted to make here is I do agree with the point of not, like, informing your audience or misinforming your audience. But I also don't agree with the fact that you said that these teams can't work, when even doing a quick YouTube search will show that these dual DPS comps will work and are competitive and zero cycle with low investment characters. Or just without you doing the testing in general, you know, that can be said for both of them though, right? Because I think Gacha Smack should have tested these teams out, or maybe posted something before saying something like that. Maybe he's seen the videos. I don't know what the situation is. Some evidence needs to be shown though before making a point, right? Especially if you're a theory crafter, you should have evidence to back it up instead of just saying it or saying something's true, right? You need the math, you need the proof to back it up. But the next point in this video that I want to talk about, which I'm not going to show the video for, is MrPokee's zero cycle run where he runs. Honestly, I kind of agree with MrPokee with this. It's not a normal run. You're using 3 characters, so you're not generating skill points as efficiently as you would normally be. Obviously, you're not using Bronya to skill as much. You still zero cycle it. It doesn't matter. I think this proves a really, really big point, is saying that you can already zero cycle without really even using Bronya. You can just use Ting Yun to zero cycle stuff like this. So, I mean, realistically, you really don't need Bronya. I mean, I really don't need Ruan mei in these comps because we're already able to zero cycle. Now, like I said before, we don't know what MOC 11 and 12 is going to offer for us. So, we don't know how much the difficulty increase is going to be. So, that could obviously change. But if it stays how it is right now, if they just increase health pools and stuff like that, I think I can see it being around the same. So, yeah, that's the main point I wanted to make here. It's only using 3 characters, so I feel like it's not a very fair assessment to make on MrPokee's team here, just because of the fact that it is only 3 characters. And it's just kind of like a meme comp just showing how much Zila can do, right? Now, if it was a full blown out comp, I think that would be a more fair assessment to see how much Bronya can actually skill, because you do have that extra skill point generation coming from that 4th unit. So that's my opinion on that. Now we're skipping to around 30:06, where the title of the section is Bronya is more niche. So let's go ahead and watch this real quick.
Having more universal applications, meaning to say it enables more teams, it is not that important. Same reason why Silver Wolf is not that important in the endgame.
Okay, there's 2 different things I want to touch on here. The first point is like being able or being more versatile is not that important. I disagree with that. Usually the reason a character is more versatile is because they are so good that they can be that versatile, right? And maybe in certain situations that's not the case, or certain edge cases that's not the case, but usually, like say Fu Xuan for example, right? Fu Xuan is great for every team, right? This is a great example of this. Fu Xuan's great for every team because she's a great unit, but is she good for MOC or like high MOC? No, you're really not using her there, honestly. Or I mean, maybe in some cases because you get the extra crit rate, crit damage if you have her E1, but these are certain cases where you're not using these characters, and I think that's different for Ruan mei. I think Ruan mei is very versatile, but very, very strong. I think she is probably the most versatile, the best versatile character in the game. I think she's going to be the best versatile character in the game. And I don't think versatility equals not being that good. I don't feel like fitting a niche is necessarily better than filling like a lot of voids in, or filling out a full kit, or filling out multiple different teams, right? Now in the case that he's talking about here, I do feel like Bronya's niche is super, super strong and OP right now, since she's the only one that can do it. That she does fit the hypercarry niche super well, and then she is the best for that comp. She's the best support for that comp. I do agree with that completely. But the point he brings up here about Silver Wolf, I do have a gripe with it.
Same reason why Silver Wolf is not that important in the endgame. Why? Because, okay, okay, this is really not for like general player base that just wants to 3-star MOC. If you just want a 3-star MOC, then fuck yes, right? Ruan mei is gonna pretty much enable a lot more team comps than Bronya. I'm not even gonna deny that. There can only be a few select team comps that lets you clear in a very, very fast time. Right now, as of version 1.5, pretty much most, if not all team comps, they're all hypercarries. And in this hypercarry...
And I agree with that. I agree most of the comps in right now are hypercarry comps. But there are plenty of examples, or a couple of examples, the ones you brought up anyways, that we searched up earlier in the video, that had like dual DPS comps that are working for those hypercarry situations. I mean, working for those dual DPS situations, right? So I don't think that Ruan mei is like completely out of the equation here, right? So I think that bringing Ruan mei in will actually help you clear these stages even better or even faster than hypercarry teams, or make more teams readily available to zero cycle, right? Because it is already a thing happening. I'm not saying that hypercarry is not the best right now, but I think that dual DPS will overtake hypercarry after this update. That's just my opinion on that. And that's what it seems like the direction they're heading. It seems like they're stepping away kind of from the hypercarry situations and stepping more into the dual DPS situations. Kind of like, instead of having like these niche teams that only do like MOC 0 cycles, they're kind of stepping away from that, it looks like. And the point about Silverwolf, the reason we don't use Silverwolf now is a very, very simple reason, right? First of all, at the beginning of the game, we didn't have any characters, so her skill was a niche skill. She could fill in typings. That niche got filled very fast by adding more characters to the game. They could do what she does, but better. Or I guess they could say more typings equal her skill is irrelevant, other than the all type resistance shred, or the resistance shred that she provides from that skill. That's a really strong skill, I'm not gonna lie. But also other things like her ultimate, right, which only targets one enemy. Her basic attacks that bring defense down, bring some other stats down. Those are good, but she is now the niche, right? You put her in niche scenarios now. Like, you put her on a team with, like, say, Dr. Ratio, right, that plays off of debuffs. You don't put her on other teams. You just rather run a Pela because, first of all, she's more readily able to get, right? You can get her from standard gacha, you can get her from normal gacha, or your featured character gacha, and get her E6, and she is a team-wide defense shred, which is super, super good. She does ice resistance shred if you're using an ice character on the team, right? So, I mean, like, that's the reason why Silverwolf is not used anymore. It's not because that, oh, we have to have these niche teams. It's because she's just not as good anymore, right? It's like, she only targets one person, first of all, and then the main reason why everyone pulled her was because of changing the typings, and you don't really need that anymore. And if you want to defense shred enemies, you just get payload to defense shred any enemy, so that your Zealot or whatever character can just kill every enemy faster and cycle it faster. Anyways, that's the point I want to make here on the Silverwolf situation, and like becoming a niche and going into a niche, whatever. That was all jumbled, I think. Anyways, to the next point.
Like, we're talking about, because usually right now, we're running 2 supports, 1 sustain, 1 DPS, and any of these 0 cycle clears, I think these are all legitimate 0 cycle clears, right? If Ruan mei can straight up replace the role of a sustain unit, means that I can comfortably do a 0 cycle right now with Ruan mei without using sustain at all. She power creeps Bronya. If she can...
Yeah, so the point here is, like, the point he's making here is, can Ruan mei completely surpass sustain? I don't think that's going to be possible unless you're, like, the upper echelon of spending, right? I don't think that Ruan mei is going to be able to sustain, right? Because the example he brings up is Welt solo sustain, and Welt solo sustain can only be done in certain situations, right? Where you can kind of hoax the enemy into attacking certain allies, so you can kind of distribute the damage evenly. In most situations, that's not the case because the enemies just attack randomly, and you don't really have that option, right? You don't have the option of having this character get attacked, this character get attacked, I want this character to be attacked now. You really don't have that that ability in many fights, right? You have it with the monkey boss, and you kind of have it with the Mirror Maiden bitch that does her whatever, she gets her stacks and then she misses the turn, whatever, right? Those are the only 2 scenarios of which you can do that in, right? So with this point here, I mean, I agree with MrPokee. I don't think that she is going to replace sustain, right? And that's really all the points that I really had in this video. So I'm going to be on to my thoughts really quick now of my copium take on this as a non-sweat lord in this game, a non-zero cycler, because I don't care about that bullshit. I'm not a nerd. I'm not sweaty. 3 stars is good enough for me, bucko. I don't get any extra rewards for zero cycling it. Anyways, my point here is, I think Ruan mei is going to be the most versatile character in the game. I do think she's a must-pull, even though, I mean, well, it depends on where you're at, right? I don't think any character is a must-pull if you're super late game and you're already able to clear all this stuff. I think if you're not zero cycling MOC now, she will make your clear times faster. She'll make you be able to clear content faster, or get closer to that zero cycle that you want, right? If you're already zero cycling, then she'll still be able to make you zero cycle without using Bronya. I think that's just to be said. I think that's fair enough, right, to say that you'll be able to zero cycle with her without Bronya on the team. Then that's just what it is, right? Your DPSs are cracked. You probably have cracked relics in your DPSs, and they just need a decent buffer on the team to do that. So I think to sit here and say that that Ruan mei is overhyped, I think she's a bit overhyped, honestly. I don't think she's as good as everyone puts her out. Same with Fu Xuan, right? I think everyone overhyped Fu Xuan a bot. She's really good, but she's not a must pull. You can still clear the content, still zero cycle the content, still complete everything without her. Same thing with Ruan mei as well. Bronya, I still think, is a little bit better unit, especially in hypercarry situations. She is definitely the best unit there. Versatility, though, it's Ruan mei all the way. So, in the more niche scenarios, Bronya, and most other cases, it's going to be Ruan mei. So, overall, I would say the better character is probably Ruan mei, just for, like, versatility, like I said before, and I guess I'll reiterate this one more time. I think Bronya, overall, if we're comparing character to character, is still better than Ruan mei because that advanced forward action is super strong, and that won't be power creeped until we have someone that can actually power creep that. Anyways, that's going to do it for today's video, gamers. Hope you enjoyed my little rant or going through this video here. And if MrPokee or Mr. Gacha Smack just watch this, I hope you get better, Mr. Gacha Smack. MrPokee, very good video as well. I do like your theory crafts a lot. And keep up the good work, gamers. But I just brought up some things in this video that I think could be changed in the future whenever, I guess, you go into debate. And I think you guys should do a debate, honestly. I think that both Gacha Smack and MrPokee should get on like a Discord call and do a debate when Mr. Gacha Smack is feeling better. Anyways, that's going to do it. I'll see you guys later. I've rambled on for too long, and I'll see you in the next one later. Bye-bye.